Hey there, everybody, and welcome back. So, we are going to do something a little bit different tonight, or rather, today in your case, because you'll probably be seeing this tomorrow morning. So, we're here to talk about the tracks that are coming to iRacing, with all the information that I had collected over the last couple of months. So, if you're looking on the messaging board, you'll get all the little information from iRacing staff, making these little announcements on what's coming to iRacing. So, Willow Springs was, so that's the track that is coming next week. iRacing released the YouTube video of it, and it's a beautiful looking small track in California. Actually, it's not that small. It's like 2.5 miles. It looks small, I guess. It look at the track map, but it's actually not that small. So yeah, it's been rumored to come to iRacing for like over a decade now. It's been a long time coming, and we finally got it on iRacing starting next week. And not only that, but they did this beautiful graphics updates with the grass, the 3D stuff, and also, improving the shaders and off-track stuff. It's going to be a beautiful looking track. So check out the iRacing video on this track on YouTube. You'll get more information about it. But yeah, like I said, it's been a long time coming. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the most surprising thing on Earth, but it's been signed by iRacing since 2007 or something crazy like that. And finally, iRacing got the tools to finish the track, especially with the graphics. But that's not all. We got like a bunch of the tracks that are coming to iRacing, and we're gonna talk about them. So we're going to go forward and talk about all the tracks that are kind of confirmed to be coming. So I am the GIS, where I was a GIS student as I graduated from interstate with my master's degrees in GIS. So I can make pretty maps. So that's what I did. I was mapping out all the tracks on iRacing and put it around the world. And then I put the yellow dots for the tracks that are confirmed to be coming to iRacing. So we got 2 tracks in California. We got a bunch of the tracks in Southern Europe. And we also got a track in New Zealand. So we'll talk about that too. But we're going to zoom into Europe. And you can probably see the pattern of what iRacing is doing with the new tracks. And why they're picking out the tracks that they have done for iRacing. So you're looking at this, you can see what kind of direction they're scanning the tracks in Europe, or rather hiring people to scan for them in Europe. And they're kind of, tackling the southern part of Europe, like Spain, Portugal, France, Italy. If I will pronounce any of the track names or the country names, forgive me. A deaf American. I am deaf. I will speak very well. I do speak very well. I just can't pronounce fancy words from other countries, so or other languages. So forgive me on my pronouncements going forward. But yeah, you can kind of see the pattern of where iRacing is scanning the tracks lately. They already got one track in Spain. They're out starting last season, and that's Jerez. That's the track name, or at least that's how you spell the track name. Chiriac, something like that. I don't know. Let me look up on Google real quick. Jerez, something like that. I don't know. That's a weird word for American to be saying. But sorry, came out last season, and now we got supposedly another Spanish track. They're coming, and that is MotorLand Aragón. So MotorLand Aragón was teased on iRacing Twitter like a week ago, and it seems to be pretty close to being done. And I do believe that it's gonna come next week. I think it's coming next week. If not, it'll be in September. Release at the latest. I do believe it's coming next week though, because this was teased like a month ago. And usually when tracks are like this, when iRacing's teasing a track like a month in advance, looking like this, it's gonna come. So I do believe that Willow Springs, not the only track they're coming out this season. I do believe that Aragón is gonna come to iRacing as well. So what exactly this track? Well, it's the famous Spanish motorcycle track, but it can also be hosting GG3 races as well, and Formula 4 and a bunch of other races. But it's a pretty active track, and Spain, and like I believe in the northern part of Spain, this track is I believe it is grade 2 for, or actually it's actually somehow it's actually grade 1 track for FIA. So it is a grade 1 track. Well, I inspect that. I'm looking on Wikipedia right now. It's a grade 1 track. It's a pretty major motorcycling track. And it's also hosting the European Le Mans series as well. So yeah, it got a lot of stuff going on for them. And what I've noticed about this track when I'm watching on YouTube is the elevation can be pretty crazy. It's like you're going up the hill for one end of a track, and then you go really steep downhill around this one corner in the picture to the left. And then you got this huge stone wall along the back stretch, or whatever you want to call it, the back end of the track, coming to the finish line, something like that. So yeah, it's a beautiful track, and I do believe this is coming next week. I could be wrong here, but we'll see. So that is a Spanish track there coming. So we're gonna stop here real quick, because we got like a bunch of the tracks that was confirmed by iRacing Fight President when he posted this back in February. So he was like listing out all the tracks, and again, most of these tracks are in the Southern Europe port. So iRacing's like really tackling the Southern Europe. And I'll get your other stuff on this post later on in a video. But for now, I want to focus on the tracks that are coming to Southern Europe. So they're really tackling the fan base that iRacing had built up in Spain and Southern France and Italy. So that's where their focus is. So we are gonna move on to this track in Pukekohe. Something like that. If you watching, pronounce the name, and let me look up how you pronounce this track name. But you can already tell by the picture. Alright, is Portimao, something like that. I'll speak the language from Pukekohe, something like that. But this track was like the filler track during the COVID for the Formula 1. So in 2020, and I believe also in 2021, they were racing at this track. So as a backup track, when a bunch of the tracks was cancelled because of COVID virus, and their Formula 1's trying to stay Europe. So this place had really stepped up as a racing track and be able to be hosting the Formula 1 track. So it's another grade 1 FIA track that is coming to iRacing. So this track is 2.8 miles long or 4.6 kilometers with fits and turns, and hosts the Formula 1 races in 2020 and 2021. Also hosting Formula 2, DTM, the GT3, and also 6 hours of FIA WEC race as well. So this is like very popular track. I know a lot of people on iRacing, a lot of people in Europe have been asking for this track for a long time. So this has been a long time coming, and it's a very popular choice for a new track in Europe. And iRacing is listening and going to bring it to iRacing. So I think it's excellent that this track is coming. Alright, we're going to move on to France. So we are going to move on to Ledenon in southern France. It's another name I can't really pronounce very well, but hopefully it's pretty obvious by the picture what track I'm talking about. So it's one of those shorter club level tracks in France that's also coming to iRacing, and seems to be pretty good for like GT4 or the Jura Cup course, the smaller course, the Formula 4, cars with less horsepower. And I think it is possible for GT3 cars to be racing here. And this is another track that is pretty crazy in the elevation. And it kind of reminds me of a curtain track in California that's been a fan favorite of iRacing. So, and I hope you all know what I'm talking about. It was a fan favorite track. That is, let me look up how to pronounce this track. I am really struggling with pronouncing these names. Laguna Seca. The hell is it? Alright, you know what? So you all know what I'm talking about. So anyway, this track is, let's see how long this track is. So this track is under 2 miles long. Got 13 corners, 3.1 kilometers. It's a very short track. And it's hosting French Formula 4 races. And also some GT races as well. And some touring car races. So yeah, like I said, this is a track for smaller cars for sure. And it used to be hosting the Formula 3, but that was a long time ago. It has not hosted a Formula 3 race since 2002. So yeah, this is just like a smaller track. But the elevation chain is kind of insane. Look at on YouTube, like you start and the start and finish line, and then you'll be going up and down. And you got these crazy corners, going downhill. I think it's gonna be interesting when we get this track. And then we're gonna move on to Italy. We got Misano. Again, I'm just looking up how you said this word. Google's not very helpful tonight, so hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to say here. Misano, it's a track in like central Italy, I believe. Let me look it up here. It's a motorcycle. It's a pretty major motorcycle track. Have you ever noticed that we seem to be getting a lot of motorcycle tracks lately for iRacing? I thought that's something interesting, Anyway, this track is located in central Italy, and it is I believe it's not. I believe it's like a grade 2 track, something like that. I can't even. Yeah, it's a grade 2 track, and it has been hosting the GP motorcycle racing for a long time. For a long, long time. And the track is even named after a motorcycle. So the Grand Prix track is 2.6 miles long, second corners, 4.2 kilometers. So yeah, got these tight corners, very tight corners. I can't even compare this track with any other tracks that we have in iRacing. So it's gonna kind of be its own thing, I guess. And this track is already, on sim racing. It's already on ACC, the famous GG3 games that is on console, but also sim racing. And it's probably the most famous rival to iRacing. So now you got ACC and iRacing both getting this track. So I think this is interesting to see. Alright, we're moving on. So right after that first staff post, we got another post like 3 months later in April 2023. And it was mentioning that they were on vacation to Italy, not only to Misano, but also Mugello. So that was a pretty big name drop. It's a pretty big name drop because it's yet another Formula 1 track, another Grade 1 FIA track that is coming to iRacing. So, and it's a beautiful track, got a beautiful hillside. Italy, central Italy, can't be too far from Florence, Italy. And this was another filler track when the COVID hit in 2020 for Formula 1. So Formula 1 came to here in 2020 for one-time race. And I believe it's still the only time that raced it here. And it turns out to be one of the most chaotic races in a couple years. You got, people were wrecking on restarts. People were getting stuck in the sandbox. It was pretty chaotic race. A lot of drivers had never been to this track before in F1 cars. So a lot of them were struggling in this race. So that's what this track reminds me of. But also, this place is the host of a lot of racing. Got the GG3 racing, the Formula 4. I think regional Formula 3 are kind of cars. They're racing here. So it's a pretty major track. Very, very major track. And that's the last of the European tracks. They're kind of the new tracks that are coming to iRacing. And we're gonna go to the west coast of California once again. But this time we're gonna go to Kern County. Now, this track had been rumored to be coming to iRacing for several years now. I think Hart Jr. was the one that mentioned it in his podcast, that it was coming to iRacing back in 2020, and then he kind of repeated the claim in 2022. But I believe iRacing didn't actually get to go out and scan the track here until 2023 in January. So I think it was kind of hinted that iRacing was in California scanning this track, this oval track, which is pretty known for being the ARCA Series track. It's not super special, I guess, but it's an ARCA Series track, and also late model racing track, and it's also one of the newer tracks in California. I think it was opened in 2005 or something like that. It's a pretty young track, and it's pretty interesting. It's kind of very easy because it's a short track that kind of act like a speedway, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but it's over half miles long. But the turns here are huge, and most of the time the racing here becomes single file. So yeah, it's long, and it's a long track with tight banking. It's not anything. It's kind of like Bristol and Martinsville, kind of mixing together here. And then not only iRacing scan it, the oval, but they also scan it, the dirt track. They're right next to this track. And the dirt track is not super special. It's actually like a bull ring. It's a bull ring. But what I can see is about 1/3 of a mile. And doesn't look anything special, but apparently turn 1 and 2 is a lot higher than turn 3 and 4. It's not perfectly round in both corners, so we're just gonna have to see it when it does come. But again, I believe that this track was scanned in January of 2023, or rather, we scanned it, because I do believe iRacing had scanned the track a while ago, but they came back and get a fresh scan or something like that. I could be wrong though. But I do believe this is gonna come September or December of this year. So it's on the way for sure. It's finally been confirmed by iRacing staff right here. It's gonna be coming later of the year. So yep, and then we got 2 more tracks to mention here. So first, we're gonna take a trip to the Pacific Ocean, to the Great Country of New Zealand, where they're retiring a very famous track in that country. So they're kind of retiring Pukekohe as of April 2023. So, and this retirement was a long time coming. I think everybody knew it was going to be retired for like a year or 2. So then the fans, the Supercourse fans, and the motorsport fans in that part of the world have been begging for iRacing to come and scan the track, to save the track and preserve it in iRacing. And it's not the first time that iRacing had come and scan the track that's kind of dying away to save it. They kind of did that with North Wilkesboro and a couple other tracks. So yeah, iRacing was like, okay, we're gonna come over and scan it, and we're gonna save this track, because before it's gone. So the reason why this track is being retired, from what I understand, it's because they want to expand. They're trying to expand horse racing on the property. They're trying to do more horse racing, which is not my favorite thing on earth, to be honest. But that's another topic for another date. So yeah, this track is disappearing forever, and iRacing has stepped in and scanned up the track before it's disappearing forever. So it look kind of like Sandown that we do have on iRacing, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more flowy, I guess. I guess we're just gonna have to see. And finally, alright, it's not this one. We're gonna come back to this post. So, another Formula 1 track is kind of being redone. I have talked about this a couple videos ago, but Zandvoort in the Netherlands is being rescanned. They're rescanning this track, the Formula 1 track, in the Holland. So the reason why is because a couple corners have been redone for the Formula 1 to be coming back to this track. So they added a couple bank turns should be like NASCAR style corners, and turn 3 and the last 2 corners at this track. Right now it's flat on iRacing, but they have come in and really bank up the corners in turn 3 and the last corner on this track. And they also added a bunch of this safety features, and added a bunch of new grandstands. So the property is completely different than the one we have in iRacing. So it's becoming very, very outdated on iRacing. So they have to come back and rescan this place again. And they're fast tracking the production of this track, apparently. So I have reason to believe that this is going to come in September or something like that. So September or December is when we're going to get the refresh of this track. So, yeah, that's a thing that's going to be coming for sure for iRacing. And that's all the confirmed tracks. They're coming to iRacing in the next year or so. We got a lot of interesting tracks that are coming to iRacing. And iRacing is still expanding their footprint in the world of sim racing. And they're adding a couple new tracks and a couple new countries. 2 more countries. At least they're coming to iRacing. Plus at least 7 or 8 new tracks that are on the way that we know of. And there's a couple other rumors that are out there. We're talking about Florence Speedway. We're talking about Anderson Speedway. We're talking about several other tracks with rumors, but no confirmation yet. So I believe the future is very bright on iRacing with all these tracks that are coming. And that's all I have for you all tonight. I hope you're enjoying this. Let me know what y'all think about this video. Leave a comment and subscribe. And once again, I do apologize. My pronouncement is off, as I'm struggling to say certain words from your country. I am American, and I'm also deaf, so I'm not used to hearing other languages. I have been trained to be hearing in English, so I'm not used to hearing words from other languages. And I hope that's understandable. And hopefully I'm very helpful with explaining what's on the way for iRacing. Let me know what y'all think about this. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all later. Have a good one.